What's going on, everybody? Just out here sitting down, quarantine. I thought long and hard about what we were going to talk about. Came to the conclusion we're going to talk about timeline management and how to build a timeline. So, that's this week's episode. Up next. For the last 10 years, I've worked as a Special Forces boat operator for the U.S. Navy. I've worked in several countries around the world as a subject matter expert in building foreign relations, high-risk training, leadership, management, and team building. Throughout my career, I've been responsible for over $10 million worth of sensitive gear and equipment. And now, I'm taking my knowledge and training to the business world. I am the IO Consultant. It's day 7 of quarantine, and it hasn't been too bad. But today, we drinking Bitburger. It's a damn good beer. Today, we're talking about how to build and manage a timeline. And it may sound really simple, and it is if you know how to do it correctly. So, I thought long and hard about what my topic for this week was going to be to help some people out. And it was a combination of two things that led me to timeline management. The first is that I'm extremely confident in building a timeline. It is the bread and butter of my job. It's in our organizational ethos: on time, on target, never quit. It's incredibly important for my job. Like, if we don't make our timeline, a lot of stuff can't happen. A lot of important stuff. And somebody's gonna have to answer to that. And it's gonna be whoever is in charge. Anybody that's ever been in the military, you know what I'm talking about. And if you happen to have worked in special forces, you really know what I'm talking about. With that being said, the second thing that made it come to mind is just being in school. Everybody who's going to college has been, even if you haven't been, everybody who's been into high school or above, you've been in a situation where your teacher, professor has put you into a random group of people you don't really know and assigned you guys to complete an essay or a project. Your timeline is going to determine your success. If you're working in a team, it's going to drive everything that the team is doing. It's going to be the documentation that everybody in that group can refer to basically remind themselves of what needs to be done, what the end state goal is, and what role they play in accomplishing that end state goal. If there's no timeline, it's going to be chaos. Now, you might have a team where everybody on your team is just shit hot. You might have that. I've had that one time. But everybody on that team was above the age of 30, had a ton of experience, had a ton of life experience as well, and they knew their job. So they knew the questions that need to be asked. Chances are, you won't have that. That's like a once in a lifetime thing. With building a timeline, the most important thing that you want to do first is establish communication with the people that are going to be in your group. You also need to have a good working relationship or line of communication to the person, to the official, to the CEO, management, whoever the person is that is tasking you to accomplish something. As soon as you know what your project is, the due date, and your team members, you need to start establishing those lines of communication by getting numbers or recommending the easiest way to communicate and get everybody in on one group messaging system. That could be easy, it could be difficult. Some people are technology illiterate. I didn't believe that at first, but it happened to me. And I worked with one person, and it was like pulling teeth trying to get this person to figure out just how to exist in the 21st century. But we figured it out. We got them in. Everybody's talking. You're moving on to the next thing. After you've established communications with everyone on your team, you actually need to build your timeline. I'm talking to you assuming that you're the leader of your group. If no one's the leader, then guess what? You just became the leader. In the absence of leadership, somebody needs to take charge. If you're here and you're watching this, that's you, because you're thinking about it. So, take some initiative and put out the information that's going to ensure that you're going to be successful. You don't want to be the person that waits till it's too late, knowing that something needs to be done, and then by the time you actually say something, everybody's rushing in, they're panicking, and there's no way you can accomplish a reasonable timeline that alleviates stress. It's just going to be a bunch of people trying to drink from the fire hose to get all this work done, and it's going to be a shit show. So, you start building your timeline. When you're building your timeline, there are several ways you can go about doing a timeline. I'm going to tell you the way that I do it. I'm going to tell you the way that makes sense to me and the way that has always worked every time I've done this across the world with people that speak different languages. It's flawless. You can't fuck this up. Start at the ending or the due date of your timeline and work your way backwards, systematically inputting all the individual key tasks that need to be accomplished in the timeline as you work backwards. You do that because you can put buffer time in your timeline as you go to the starting date from the ending date. So let's just say hypothetically, you're doing an essay and you have 10 days to do it and 6 people on your team, and it's due on the 30th. You start at the 30th, due date. The day behind that, the 29th. Buffer. That should be a free day. That should be time for you to review the work for the second time and just nitpick and put everything together. Before that, then you would probably want that day, the 28th, to be the day that you actually are doing your final consolidations and your final review. The 27th, that could be the day that all work is due no later than 9 or 10 p.m. And that's very important too, that you leave a no later than date, because if you don't leave a no later than date, you don't give people a definitive target to shoot for. So it makes it really difficult for whoever is trying to consolidate all the work to get it all in a reasonable time. Just makes it more efficient. 26th, 25th, 24th, 23rd, all those days could be days that each one of those individual cells are working on their task portions of the assignment. 22nd, 21st, you can use those days to establish time to determine what you're going to do your topic on, and then research that topic. It shouldn't take more than 2 days to research from a bunch of adults that are highly educated, intelligent, and know how to manipulate technology to their advantage. It shouldn't take that long. I mean, now if you're doing like a 50-page paper on a team, that's different. But if we're talking about, hey, you need 5 to 8 sources, it doesn't take that long. So that was just a little bit of advice on how I run and manage my timelines. You can do it however you want to do it. I'm just giving you some tools that you can go ahead and put in your toolbox that might help you out later down the road. Hopefully this video did help you out. If you like the content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click that like button. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop a message in the comments box below, or you can message me directly. I'm going to be putting out content every week. Take the message I gave you here today, go out, be successful, get it done. No way you can mess this up.